Hi everyone, I'm Marcy Lamberson, and today we're going to be talking about color mixing. I know, it's soft glass, we already have a lot of gorgeous colors. Well, why not make a few more? I think this is quite easy to do and really a lot of fun, especially if you have a couple of short rods that you aren't sure what to do with or whatever. But this particular time, this is a color mixing challenge for the beginning group on Facebook. But of course you can do this anytime. What we're going to do is each person is going to take a main color that they will be mixing with the other colors. And today I have chosen some other colors. We aren't going to do all of them. I just want to show you basically how to do it. But I have a black and a turquoise and a very pale aqua, which I really love. Pea green, a light aqua. Oh, I forget the name of this one. I'd have to look it up. And this is a violet dark. I always have to look under the lights to see what's going on there. White and a gray, medium gray. So that's what I have. I also have two old mandrels that are on the thick side. These are bigger than 3/32. You can use 3/32. I don't suggest 1/16 because you know what? Sometimes they're just a little bit too bendy for me. So I prefer something a little thicker. You could also, if you have chopsticks, use those, or you can use other items, and we'll talk about them as we go. So let me just show you some other tools. Somewhere you might have some glass rod nippers like these. And those are just great for a little bit of a snip if you need one. And what you want to do is to do approximate equal parts of glass ratio, unless, you know, sometimes working with black, it's just so dense, it's easier to do less of that because then you'll get a color out of it. All right, so the way that I do it is I put my fingers on each side and snip, ta-da, and we'll just have a couple of these ready to go in case we do more than one. And then what I'll do is equal amounts. Now, if we were being really scientific about mixing colors, we would keep a chart and we would even weigh the glass because you know some of these glass rods aren't the same thickness. But I'm kind of curious today to see what we'll get and kind of guessing, oh, let's see whether this happens. That's kind of fun too. Let me just snip a couple other colors about the same length. So there's a white, and let's try this pink one. Oh, I will need to find that out, and then I'll put it in the comments section because I'm kind of interested to see what will happen with this. Okay, so we got a couple of colors here, and because I love all shades of turquoise and aqua, we'll get these out too, just in case. One of those and one of those. And a pea green. What the heck? I might have to do this after I'm done videoing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the glass and we're going to attach it to a hot mandrel. And I'm a lefty, you can probably tell. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take with my pliers or whatever you have that will hold the glass well. I'm going to heat up my mandrel. And you can see it going along here. Once it gets nice and hot, you can see by that color, it's pretty darn orange. I'm going to start heating up the end of my glass to attach it. Make sure they're both hot, 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 and attach it on there. I'm going to hold it in place just a minute to make sure that it's on well. Well, I have a little mess there, but we'll take care of that. Anyhow, so what I'm going to do is melt that in, and we will work with the pea green, because what the heck. So we're heating up the light cobalt, and then we're going to attach the pea green to it also. Now, when I'm mixing 2 colors together or 3 colors together, whatever, there's so many different ways. You can just take 2 rods and mush them together. Boom, 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 and that works. You can, if you don't have mandrels, you can take clear transparent glass and use those as your rods, and then cut off your 2 colors that you're going to use, or however many colors, and attach each one to a glass rod, so you know that when you hit the clear, that's as far as you go with your mixing and stuff. And you want well over an inch. What we're going to be doing is pulling these out into stringers afterwards. So I'm heating it up, and you can see it's getting nice and warm. And then I'm going to heat up my other mandrel. Oh, this is so easy and so much fun. So we have pea green, and we have light lapis, cobalt, and I am twisting. One hand goes in one direction, the other hand goes in the other direction. And you can see, as you're twisting, you can see that there's a difference in color. Now, when it's darker, sometimes that means that your glass is not as hot as the other glass. But I don't know whether you can see, but I see a little bit of a variation in color. Sometimes this takes quite a bit of twisting and pulling together. You don't want to add a lot of extra air to it, but you do want to see what you get. So I am just mixing and mushing. Oh, who knew that color mixing was this easy, huh? And then, once I feel like it's probably mixed really well together, see how soupy this is that I'm working with? If it's not nice and soupy, it's not going to blend very easily. You'll get more striations. So what we're going to do is we're going to look. I'm going to heat it all up, and then I'm going to let it cool. And you know, before you pull things out, you need to wait a few minutes and watch as it changes color as it's cooling. And then you slowly pull it out. Well, let's see what we got here. Well, that's kind of pretty. It looks a little bit, or quite a bit, to me, maybe not quite as yellow as that lovely olive green, maybe, that France has. I'd have to double check, but that looks pretty good. That's a pretty color. So that's what we get when we mix this color, whoops, and this color together. We get this color. It's a pretty one. So what I'm doing with this mandrel is I'm heating it up, and then you're going to hear it. Well, let me put it in here because there's quite a bit of satisfaction to watching glass go into water. I think you can see this. I heat it up nice and hot, and I plunge it into water, and you can hear it. It's coming off. And this also is a quick way for making some frit too. If you have some glass that you need some frit for, and you don't need it a certain thickness, because oftentimes when you make frit like this, you've got lots of sizes and chunks involved also. Well, it looks like we got it pretty well. Let's double check. Yeah, looks good. Okay, so inside of here, I don't know whether you can see this, there's some frit from it also. All right, oh, when you're doing that, sometimes it's easier if you put a coffee filter in the bottom. All right, let's do another one. Oh, first I need to take this stringer off. Oh, that is a pretty one. I'm going to heat this up and do the same thing, probably off camera, because you had so much fun watching that last one. Boom. Okay, so while I'm doing the next one, what I want to also talk about is some of the chemical composition within glass. I'm not going to get fancy on you because I really honestly don't know it. But here's what I do know. That you know how sometimes when you use some glasses, they don't play as well with each other. And what I mean is sometimes they react in a way that you really don't want to see them react. For example, sometimes people put some pinks. There's some pinks that when you put them on ivory or vice versa, it turns really kind of a gross color, kind of a grayish color when there's no gray in it. And Or sometimes you put ivory and turquoise together, and if you're just putting a dot and melting it in, that's fine. You get that little brown line around it, which is cool. But if you kind of let it get too hot and it mushes all over, it kind of makes a bit of a muddy mess there. So what that is that there are different chemicals within glass, of course. So the copper colors are generally opaques and generally have kind of a turquoisey, blue with a touch of green in it type appearance. That's kind of a general way of thinking that it probably has copper in it. So obviously this one has copper in it. This one probably has copper in it. This one might. This one doesn't have green in it at all. This one's kind of a neutral one. And then, so those copper colors react a lot with any of the colors that have sulfur in them. So the sulfur type colors are like dark ivory, light ivory, red, yellow, orange, brown. Those colors tend to not play as well with the copper colors. And that's why you will see reactions between them and different levels depending upon how much is in them. So that's just kind of a quick thing. There are other major types of chemicals within glass, and from what I understand, selenium is one of them, and those with selenium tend to react kind of like the sulfur ones do. You can kind of lump those somewhat together. I mean, not exactly, but it kind of gives you a general idea. Some have lead, some of the pinks have lead and other colors, and then of course some have silver in them, and we really love those, don't we? So anyhow, just wanted to kind of give you an idea. If you want to learn more about that type of stuff, on the Bullseye Glass website, you can find some good stuff. So look up Bullseye Glass and color reactions, and sometimes you can find they have charts or discussions and stuff like that. And that's just kind of to give you a general idea on that. All right, now we're going to try that pink, because I have no idea what's going to happen. The pink that I chose has a little bit of a bluish cast to it, just a tiny bit. I think it will be safe with it. We're going to mix those together. Whoa, I did not get hit, thank goodness. All right, so I told you a little bit about that and resources. Oh, another really good place is if you look on Creation is Messy Glass's own website, because they always look like in the frequently asked questions, and sometimes the testers have comments about stuff. You can learn a lot more about color there too. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix these two colors just one more time, and look, can you see the difference in the colors? There's going to be quite a change. We've got some goo in there. Let me just pull that out real fast. Got it? All right, so you can see the pink and the blue. Looks like there might be a little bit of a reaction. We'll find out, won't we? Now let's mix it all together, get it nice and hot. This could be interesting. I've never mixed these two together. I've mixed a lot of colors together. Now, here's something that's really fun. You've got a color and you want to tone it down some. You've got a couple of ways of doing that. You can take the opposite color on the color wheel from it, and that will really neutralize it a lot. Or if you want to just darken the hue a bit, sometimes taking a little bit of black will do it also. And then of course, if you want to lighten it, you can add white. Or you might want to lighten it and add a twist of another color. So think, where on the color wheel does all of this fall? If you want colors that will look nice together, you can put analogous colors together, kind of like what I like to do, blues and greens together, or next to greens, yellows. You know, you just kind of go, anything next to another color is probably going to look pretty nice with it. Okay, let's see how this pink and light lapis did. Oh, this is going to be new for me. We'll see. I'm letting it cool. See how it's changing colors. And slowly pulling it. I think we have made a periwinkle, haven't we? Boy, that looks an awful lot like the periwinkle that we get. Ho-ho! Here we are. Now, if you ever need periwinkle, you know to mix pink and the lapis together, and you got it. So let's look at the colors that they were originally. These colors together, and we made a really nice periwinkle. And I think instead of using up the really fancy pink that's more expensive as usual, I bet you could put white with the lapis and get the periwinkle also. So let's cut that one off. We'll heat it off. Now the last thing I wanted to talk about was, we've talked about adding black and white. I also want to talk about adding transparent. In Effitre, we have the alabasters and some of those type of glasses that are kind of translucent-y looking colors, like one of these. See how it's not opaque and it's not transparent, it's somewhere in the middle? And in Creation is Messy Glass, we have a similar type situation. We have opals, they call them opals, that are like that, and then if you get them really wispy looking, then they're called moonstones, which I like. I make clouds that way with transparent clear and white. Oops, this is my main color. Let's just mix some of these together and see whether we can make a translucent color, and then add some more transparent to it and make a moonstone type color. And I don't know whether other glass companies in the industry call them moonstones or whether that's just a Creation is Messy name that they use, but I like it a lot. Okay, so what I'm doing is just mixing 2 rods of glass in the flame, and here I have not marked how much of each, so it's going to be a surprise. And we're mixing it up, and I'm adding, if you notice where my rods are in the flame, I have more of my transparent rod in the flame and less of my opaque. This is a pretty dense opaque, and I want to add plenty of transparency to it. Not total transparency, but translucency. That would be a better term. So now I'm just going to twist it all up a whole lot. That seems to mix it pretty well. See this trick? I feel so fancy. I can tell by looking at it that it's not evenly mixed, and I probably would have done better if I had transferred everything to my mandrels or to something else. But let's pull this out and see what we've got. Okay, so we've got to let it cool some, and we're watching the color to see how bright it is. And you see how close up I'm holding these. I have a little better control that way. So now let's pull it out and see what we got. So it should be pretty much the same color, except a little more transparent. That's kind of pretty, I think. You see that? You can kind of see through it a little bit. See the white through it? It's a pretty color. I would use that in a lot of my oceany type things. It would be pretty. And I like to use this type of glass when it's translucent like this, especially like when I'm doing something and I'm getting close to the mandrel and I want it kind of transparent look, but I don't want that mandrel hole to show through it all. So sometimes I'll use some of that close in and then lighten it up as we go, and sometimes transition to another color. But I just hate for that hole to show, and I'm not good at getting rid of it all the time. Okay, so I'm going to dunk this in, get rid of that. Okay, so now you have seen me do some color mixing, And if you are participating in our group, I hope that you will choose a couple of colors, a main color of whichever one that you want, and go ahead and try some odd stuff. I have found some of the prettiest colors by doing this. Pick some that are opposite, complementary or split complementary, or something that you go, let's see whether it happens. One thing I can tell you is that it seldom looks like how you think it's going to turn out when you're working with a lot of the different colors. And I hope that you will join me another time on my station. See Marcy Lamberson on YouTube, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and all kinds of fun places, Pinterest under Marcy Lamberson too. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much. Bye.